This is episode 54 of Pinnacle FC, and I feel like we're right back in the middle of things. Champions League football this week, Europa League football in the not so distant future, and the domestic leagues really and truly up and running. And so are we on this podcast as we break down the markets courtesy of Pinnacle across top European football leagues and matchups this weekend. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. I'm coming in off a heater. Man, last week was kind, getting things back on track. I think it was plus 3.71 units last week. So I'm feeling good heading into this week. And a disclaimer off the top of this podcast. You know where I like to make my plays. Lots of plays in Serie A. Sprinkle in La Liga. But this week in the English Premier League, I got to tell you, it is one of those boards where I'm looking down at each and every one of the fixtures, Jake, and I can rationalize making a bet on 9 of the 10 games. Really and truly. I'm in that kind of mood today, which might make this a very good podcast or a very speculative podcast. Let's hope for the prior.
Yeah, I mean, you're on a heater, so there's every chance that it could go very well. I was very cold Palmer last week. Nothing. Just drew a big fat blank. All that early season good work, just straight down the pan. But yeah, I mean, some of the bets I wouldn't really change. Bilbao win to 0 was close. It was an own goal that they ended up losing by. They created enough to win that. Dortmund 2-0 up at half time against 10 men, decided not to score a third goal and then decided to score 4 at Juventus. Thanks for that, Dortmund. And then Wolves Newcastle was a strange one in the sense there was a one goal in that. I thought once one went in, Wolves would actually open up and have a go. Didn't at all. Just kind of rolled over and said, "Yeah, we'll take a 1-0 defeat." But either way, looking to get back on the horse this week. Not as confident as you with the Premier League slate. I've got to be honest. I had a little look up and down. There are a couple that I just thought straight away absolutely must bet. But I'm interested to hear what you rattle off in rapid fire, Wheeler.
Well, we'll see how brave I end up being. Just on last week's podcast, Arsenal win to 0 is becoming the new Napoli win to 0. Like, it's just this team and these 4 center backs that they use, and it's really convincing to me. And it was another exercise of like mining or going a little bit deeper to find the appropriate play. Bayern Munich against Hamburg, both teams to score no plus over 2.5. Scream value based upon where the total was set and where the other markets were set for that game. So that was nice at plus 337. Getafe and Fulham. Come on, Fulham. It's not the first. I feel like Fulham at the death. Like, they give you a heart attack watching them play, but Fulham at the death. Here we go. So it was a really good week all around.
That is up there with one of the luckiest bets we'll have all season, I think. Fulham don't look like scoring, and then Leeds left back decides to put one in top bin from penalty spot. Like, that is sensational own goal to win a game and win a bet. But yeah, you absolutely take it.
You know what? They don't ask how, they ask how many. So that's
Context
what it came down to.
Context does not matter. Just see the result. There you go. 1-0.
Yeah, I know. Context is nice in a lot of things when it comes to football. But when you're betting on it, all that matters is the result.
Absolutely.
A reminder, follow Pinnacle across social media platforms, including X, at Pinnacle, and join the Reddit community at reddit.com /Pinnacle Sportsbook. Join the community for betting insights, market updates, and direct access to Pinnacle people and personalities that will help you make the smartest plays. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. Let's dive straight into things. Shall we start with the Merseyside derby this weekend? It's always a big fixture. And Everton's on decent form. 2 wins, a draw, and a loss through their first 4 games played on 7 points. Taking on a Liverpool side who has been a little bit fortunate. But again, they don't ask how, they ask how many. 4 wins from 4 after a stoppage time handball by Hannibal. Should call him handballable, as it sunk Burnley last week, and Liverpool off to a perfect start to their Premier League campaign. It's at Anfield, minus 217 for the Liverpool win. The draw at plus 365. Everton way out at plus 620. The handicap is set at 1.25 goals. The total is set at a nice old number of 3 as well. How do you see this playing out? Like, does it strike midnight in terms of Liverpool being a little bit fortunate with these late goals, maybe not playing their vintage best here out of the gate? And Everton's looked quite impressive to start the season as well. What do you make of this fixture?
Yeah, intriguing. Initially, I was straight away looking at taking the handicap line on and back in Everton with a handicap goal and a quarter head start. Yeah, I mean, if you think back to last season, we obviously had the really emotional last game, last Merseyside derby at Goodison Park, finished 2-2, really late goal from Tarkowski. And the last time they played at Anfield, it was 1-0. So Everton, they've shown that they can be more than a match for Liverpool and keep things very, very tight. And I think they're going to do the same again. I know they've got a lot of attacking firepower, but the way in which they seem to mix it up from week to week suggests that they can be a little bit rigid. So, yeah, I'm looking at the goal line as well and thinking that can be attacked at 3. As you mentioned, that Liverpool haven't been at the vintage best. They look to have sort of solved that defensive issue that we saw in the first 3 matches. So they conceded twice to Palace, twice to Bournemouth, and then who did they play after Bournemouth? Forgetting already. But they conceded twice there as well before it was Newcastle. And then they kept 2 clean sheets, haven't they, since? So I think obviously Gravenberch coming back in massively helped that. But their attacking fluidity is just non-existent at the moment, which is understandable because you're throwing together 4 players. Only 2 of them have played together before. You've got new fullbacks as well, and obviously that was quite an important part of Liverpool's attacking system last season with Trent and Robertson. You've got Kyrkes. Frimpong's not quite back fully fit, but Soberslai's slotting in there, so you've not quite got those relationships. So I definitely will be looking at the unders and taking that because the Merseyside derby has not been very good for goals in recent history, apart from that last one at Goodison Park. So those would be my angles, but it's no official play for me.
Yeah, no official play for me, but I can justify making a play. It was your initial instinct, Everton on the handicap. I mean, I'm just going on the basis that Liverpool's playing Champions League, back in the Champions League this week, haven't been at their best. They've been pushed by sides like Burnley to the end last week. I know that Liverpool created a lot of chances, but I mean, Burnley by the end of that game, it looked like it was going to absolutely end in a draw. It just like, you're right, just the attack, they have the ability to score goals. Isak is not in a position to play 90 minutes yet. Arne Slot made that very apparent when it came to the Champions League fixture. I can't see that changing too much out of the weekend as well. And yet another player being thrown into the mixer. And already on English television, you know, the talk and criticism about Florian Wirtz has come up about his fit in the team. I think there's a direct comparison to the way that Szoboszlai played in that position, and he strengthened an area that maybe they didn't necessarily have to, to be honest. I mean, it's hard to turn down the opportunity to go out and get a player like Wirtz, but you're spending over $100 million for a position I thought you were pretty good in to begin with. So it's going to take some time for them to be at their best, and I think that Everton's been pretty good. Good structure, decent enough team. And you said it, these Merseyside derbies, there's different elements that come into play. Obviously, the emotion, they're tighter, they're cagier. There's generally not a whole lot of separation. So I think that Everton on the handicap would be my strong lean there. Elsewhere on Saturday in the Premier League, where are you looking? Are you looking Manchester United and Chelsea? Does that catch your eye?
Yeah, it does. I think we've got a great opportunity to back the better team at a very, very backable number. Obviously, Manchester United, I'm going to be taking. I'm joking. Hey, they are not the better team. Chelsea.
I'm wearing my red today. Still wearing my red.
Still believing. Plus 151 they are to win the game. I would definitely be having a nibble on that, but I think taking them on the handicap draw no bet at minus 115 is a very, very sensible bet. Chelsea have been good so far this season. Not had too many bad things to say. It was a small lapse in concentration at the end of the game against Brentford from a long throw-in. Possibly could have been flagged for offside, but either way, disappointing to concede and ultimately draw. But they are still playing very, very well. They've got a tricky trip at Bayern. I think it's Wednesday night tonight as we're recording. But that's the only negative, really. And United just look so bad against Manchester City. Not even just defensively, where they were so easily exposed, but in attack, to say they spent so much money on Sesko and Bouma, I know Cunha wasn't there, but the final pass was horrific. I watched the game back, and the amount of times that they broke the initial press, got into really good positions, and then the final ball that would have been into the final third was just absolutely pathetic. I was screaming at my TV set, thinking I could play that pass better than that. Like, what are you doing? So I think if they're going to continue to find it difficult to score goals, which has been something that's plagued them for a long, long time, while ever Bruno's playing in midfield, they're going to struggle to keep clean sheets and keep teams out. So it's a pretty straightforward one for me, and you can just bank on Alejandro Garnacho scoring and taking his shirt off, he'll score and he'll sit on the advertising board as he usually does in Chelsea blue, and he will get pelters. But he's just be the latest Manchester United player to leave and actually look half decent in another team.
Yep. I plus 151 is calling out my name. But you're right. I just can't see Manchester United winning this game. So perhaps it's a safer play. The zero handicap at minus 115. This formation talk about Manchester United, I want to smash my head against the wall. Like it's been said. Oh, like look, in this formation to play this way, you need two areas which are both the weakest for Manchester United. Both need to be strong. Central midfield, it's been well documented. Caicedo, Fernandez, and they're just absolutely going to torch United in that area. How is Manchester United going to keep up? And the other area, to your point about distribution, you need to be good in wide areas. They have a 20-year-old in Dorgu who can run for days, but the final ball just simply is not there. He's not that kind of player. I think he's like a wing, like a fullback in a four with attacking players in front of him. He can't be your biggest creative influence. And then they're trying to shoehorn Ahmad or Mazraoui on the right. Like, your wide areas are so weak. They need to be exceptional players if you're going to play this way in this formation. So they're an absolute mess. So yeah, it's got to be a pro Chelsea play. I'm shocked. I don't know why the number is where it is, because I think that Chelsea, I thought they were going to be around maybe like plus 100 to go in and win the game, plus 151 away from home. That's why, based upon that number, you need to make that play. Like, you need to make that play. And I understand that there's Bayern Munich this week. It doesn't matter because they're that much better than Manchester United in practice and on paper. All right, elsewhere on Saturday, and anything else catching your eye? Or do you want me to just roll down all of my bets and plays?
Yeah, I think this is going to be your time to shine because I don't have anything left for Saturday.
Okay. Wolves and Leeds. It's the time when you see a goal line, a total set at 2.25, you make the play, especially at a plus number. At plus 106, like, we just document. I understand that Wolves played to that weird 1-0 against Newcastle, but a week ago we were having this conversation about how leaky they are. They got to take some risks in this game as well because they're playing a Leeds United team who I do think have some attacking players, just haven't kind of connected and played that way. But we've mentioned this before on the podcast. It's so rare that in the Premier League that it totals at 2.25. You need to make that play, and the bonus here is at a plus number. So I can't ignore that. It's almost an automatic play for me. I'm surprised that you're not on this one.
I came very close. I started doing some digging around it because in the back of my mind, I thought last year the newly promoted teams, the matches against them, each other, were quite high scoring. Just because obviously the chances of them beating anybody else are so slim. So when they play each other or the relegation threatened teams, including Wolves, they kind of have a bit more of a go because it's must win. And that I did find that was the case, especially with from a Wolves perspective. So their games against the teams that eventually went down were, I think, 5 of the 6 went over 2.5 goals. The only concern I have is that Wolves team had Ryan Aït-Nouri, Mateus Cunha, like the two of their best players basically are now gone, and I'm still yet to see that creative spark. And then you throw in Leeds to the mix, and they just can't hit well, I'm going to say can't hit a cow's arse, but they've not even tried to. They're not even getting into attacking areas and creating enough chances to be able to do that. They've drawn a blank in 3 of their 4. So yeah, it did cross my mind initially. It was like, oh, big 6-pointer. They generally can be quite high scoring, but I just looked at both teams. I was like, oh, enough to put me off.
Okay. Crystal Palace, you can get plus money on them on the handicap at a minus 1/4 of a goal at West Ham. Souček suspended. They got pumped at home again. Home play for West Ham has just become incredibly toxic. So there's no chance I can back West Ham in this game against Palace. I understand that Palace played Tuesday in the Carabao Cup. None of it. Liverpool's next week. I don't care. Like I cannot back West Ham, especially if you're giving me the luxury of betting on a team with a plus number with the benefit of if it ends in a draw, you get half your stake back. So I'll back Crystal Palace, just the better side in that game. I'll also back Burnley at home on the handicap against Nottingham Forest. It's going to take some time because they're playing completely different under Ange Postecoglou, and they were rightly played off the park last week. Burnley's been tough. They've had a difficult start to the season. Look, they pushed Liverpool to the limits at home. I think Scott Parker's got a decent enough read. I'll just take him on the handicap plus a quarter of a goal. So if it ends in a draw, then you win half your stake at minus 104. I have no problem fading Forest at this point. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on that because Burnley have looked decent enough to me.
Yeah, Burnley at home are a very, very tough opposition. I was thinking exactly the same thing you were, but Forest play in the Carabao Cup tonight. I think they're at Swansea, and I think after Ange Postecoglou, his post-match presser after the Arsenal game, he basically came out and said, "I didn't want to bring my tactics to this game because it would be too short notice for the players to learn it. But starting Wednesday, we will be doing my tactics. So I want to have a little bit of a watch on Wednesday, see what they look like before jumping in. Because part of me thinks that if he gets Ange Ball going at Forest, then they can go to these places and win. That's still not an appetizing number though, at plus 125.
It's going to take time. It'll be the great experiment whether when managers say I need a preseason, I need time on the training pitch, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just think that it's such a dramatic departure of the way that Forrest played under their previous manager to this that it's going to take weeks. And it just can't turn around this quickly. And I think it's a decent enough spot for Burnley that is looking for some rewards for some positive play thus far this season. I'll also back Spurs on the handicap plus a quarter of a goal away to Brighton at minus 107. The Tuesday, Saturday, gap between games isn't as bad as a Wednesday, Saturday, something like that. So they have the extra day to recover. They're playing a lot of young players with a lot of legs, so that doesn't really bother me. And Brighton altogether, I haven't been that convincing to start the season. I don't think they're a poor team. I think it's a game that could very well end in a draw, but I'll back the side. Spurs could. There's a path to success here where they can win this game outright. If it ends in a draw, then you win half. You win. It's a half win. So I like what I've seen from Spurs. I rate the manager Thomas Frank. I think the center backs are really good. They have some depth at fullback now. So I think the Spurs team is much better than the side that we saw last. Well, obviously, based upon the way that they finished, but they did end up winning the Europa League. But just in terms of personnel, the way that they're managed, I just think they're in a much better position this time around. And for the first time since we've really been doing this podcast, Jake, I'm buying what Spurs are selling. I've always been a naysayer. I just haven't believed in it. But I think this team has a lot more substance and different ways to go in and beat you. So I'll back Spurs on the handicap in this one.
Yeah, fair. I initially my thought was I'm going to be back in Brighton here, but just a few things have gone into my head since. Which one of them being the fact that Thomas Frank had Fabian Hertz's number last season, so they played twice. Frank won one, drew one, and it was very convincing in terms of the XG data as well. So. Yeah, that was enough to put me off. But Brighton's home record against the best teams is phenomenal. Having said that, the number's too short. My plus 125 is too short. I wanted. Well, I don't know. I don't know how far you think Spurs are behind Manchester City, but Manchester City were like plus 125 favourites at Brighton. So definitely value in Spurs.
Yeah. Sunday, 3 games.
I've got one in all three as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We have to bet the overs in Sunderland Aston Villa, right? You're on this. It's also a goal line at 2.25. Come on, Villa haven't scored a goal yet. Like this isn't going to continue for the first 2 months. Come on,
it's time.
And what do you think is going to happen? I just think that there's too much of a market correction here. So I'll go over 2.25 at -108.
I am taking both teams to score no at -109. The figures around Aston Villa are staggering. I thought it was just they've been a little bit unlucky. They're creating chances, but they've not been as bad as what the results would suggest. They've been really bad. Yet to score a goal. Their expected goals total across the season so far is the second worst in the entire division. The
Terrible.
big chances created is the 16th in the entire division. Shots on target 15th, chances created in general is 12th. So they're basically a mid to bottom half table attack, and they're just not reliable at all. For whatever reason, they're just missing some spark in forward areas, whether it's got a bit stale or they're just a bit too predictable. I don't have any of those mavericks anymore, like an Asensio or a Rashford that can kind of get things going out of nothing. But defensively, they're pretty solid still. That has to be said. They've kept 2 clean sheets against Everton and Newcastle. Crystal Palace debacle, we'll not talk about that. But away at Brentford, it was a smash and grab really from Brentford. So I think that they can keep Sunderland at bay. But then again, Sunderland have shown that they're pretty solid defensively too. They've conceded just 1.1 expected goals per game. So I think we've got to take goals on again. Both teams have scored no. Landed in 3 of Sunderland's 4 games. It's landed in all of Villa's games, obviously, because they haven't scored. And I think the final kind of sweetener for me is that these 2 teams are very good from set pieces. So they kind of cancel each other out there as well. So neither team has an advantage there. So I think we have to just keep opposing Villa.
I just think it's a get it right game. Morgan Rogers, Ollie Watkins, Danya Mallet. Like, Harvey Elliott did score in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday, where Sancho played, Gusan played. Buendia, certainly talented enough. He's like Dina. Like, they have players that can create here. Like, it's just been a slow, stale start. I understand what you're saying.
Even midweek,
but at some
it's like
moment,
0.7 expected goals against a Brentford team that made 11 changes. It's like, come on. Like, something's not right with this system.
I understand, but I mean, against a promoted team, this is the time. I have no problem making that wager.
You know that Unai Emery has got one eye on the Europa League as well. That's his favourite competition, and that's next Thursday.
But it's like another week away, right? Like, it's not 4 next week; it's the week after.
4 days.
So
straight after. So game after. Sunderland and then Bologna. We've got Bologna next Thursday.
So Bologna next Thursday.
He's definitely looking at that game and going, right, that's more important for me because he loves that competition.
They're going to score this weekend. I'm gonna say multiple goals. What's Villa to score? What's Villa to score 2 goals in this game?
I'm thinking ahead.
Plus 126. Plus 126. I'd rather just bet the goal line here at 2.25 at -108. I'm going to stick with that bet.
Do you want head to head? Or you good?
It also backs Sunderland to be. We could go make our first head to head this season.
I'll take under. You take over.
Perfect.
Cool.
Done. All right. First head-to-head of the season.
We
all know how this is going to turn out, and generally it's not great for me. What else on Sunday are you looking at?
Bournemouth to beat Newcastle, plus 154. I just thought it was a really big price for a team that have been really, really good so far this season. They're even good at Liverpool, weren't they? Created plenty there. But there's a couple of really interesting caveats here that makes the price even more value. So Gordon's still suspended for Newcastle. Obviously, he's one of their main outlets. Newcastle play on Thursday against Barcelona in what is one of their biggest games of their modern history. No matter what the result, they will be giving absolutely everything there because it's a big European game under the lights. And then the final thing is that just doing a bit of digging, Iraola seems to have Eddie Howe's number, like pretty convincingly as well. The results are he's won 2, drawn 2 since he come to the Premier League, but they've scored multiple times in 3 of the 4 matches, and they've averaged 2.3 expected goals per game across that 4-match span, which is pretty remarkable against a Newcastle team that have got one of the best midfield trios in the Premier League and a fairly solid back line. So it just says to me that Eddie Howe's just not managed to deal with whatever Iraola's bringing to the table. So I think we can use that to our advantage here, and I'll be back in Bournemouth just to win the game. I'm not going to go draw no bet. I'm going to take Bournemouth just to win the game.
Okay. I was gonna say I like over the total at 2.5. Just stylistically, depending on what kind of legs Newcastle has left, it could be just an absolute smashing game. Stylistically, it sets up for plenty of goals. So at 2.5 seems a little bit short for me. Bournemouth has a decent enough XG number. I like backing your pro Bournemouth play anyways for the reasons that you said. Second in expected points in the Premier League to start the season as well. They're off to a very good start, despite making all those changes at the back
That's
as well.
phenomenal, isn't it? Phenomenal.
Areola, what a manager!
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he should go to a top club.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
I think
Uh,
I think we should just give these two the flowers, to be fair, because I think Eddie Howe and Iraola are probably two of the best managers in the league at developing players and actually bringing them
yeah.
on and improving them. Even at top clubs, it's very rare you see them sign a player that's like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 million quid and turn them into £25 million players. And Iraola and Eddie Howe seem to do it all the time. So fair play to them.
Arsenal and Man City, the final fixture of the weekend. What a game. It's such a big weekend of
I
football.
know.
This number is being pushed out. Originally, you could have got Arsenal at minus 103. It's being pushed out to minus 109. Coming off the win at Athletic Club for Arsenal. City still needs to play Champions League football at the time of this recording. So how do you see this playing out as this game will be played at the Emirates on Sunday to wrap up the weekend that will be in the Premier League?
Yeah, I'm just keep it simple. Back Arsenal to win. Don't overthink it. As we discussed on the Champions League show, they're just a very trustworthy team. They're not going to concede many chances. They're going to create just about enough to win a football match, and I think they're going to get more than ample opportunity against City because, as I mentioned at the start when we were talking about Manchester United, they got into some really promising positions, Manchester United, but just didn't have that clinicality, that quality in that final third to punish City. And I think Arsenal will absolutely have that, whether it's Ødegaard, Eze, Madueke. I think they're going to cause too many problems. And I think, again, it's something I've mentioned when we backed against Manchester City when they played at Brighton. City's record against the best teams is horrific away from home. It's absolutely horrific. Since they beat Chelsea on the opening day of last season, they've lost 7 of the following 10, and they've not won any of them. So, and that's against teams that finished in the top 10 last season. So we're talking Brentford and Brighton, obviously, and Bournemouth. So, as well as all the other top teams, they're struggling to beat the kind of sides that are batting out for Conference League spots. So, really concerning. They conceded around 1.8 expected goals in those 10 games as well. So, yeah, I just think that Arsenal should be backed. I think they're a little bit. I'm not going to say in a different class to City, but they have pulled away from City the last 12 to 18 months after City's last title win. Obviously, they have fallen away a little bit, but Arsenal have really, really kind of stepped on it. And even with no Saliba, I think they're still going to have enough.
Okay. I think that's just about every game in the Premier League that we touched on. I believe there was one that we didn't. I can't reference it.
Fulham Brentford?
Fulham Brentford. That was the game. Nothing. Nothing. Just going to stay away. I used up all my Fulham magic last week. Let's push things forward to La Liga this weekend. What's making your board, Jake?
Nothing this week. I didn't really like the board in Spain, I'll be honest. There was a couple. I had a little dig around Alaves and their price at home to Sevilla. Rayo Vallecano and their price at home to Celta, but just didn't see enough in the data and the performances to warrant pulling the trigger. So I ended up just leaving them well alone.
I'm just checking one number. I do have one play. By the way, Valencia and Athletic Club has the numbers come down to 2. When it was at 2.25, I was going to make an underplay there, just based upon the way that Bilbao, and typically we don't do that, but Bilbao, no Nico Williams. You saw them against Arsenal. They controlled the game really well, but they just lacked that finish. And playing at Valencia, it just screams to me a low-scoring game. So I think the market reacted too much. Look, Mallorca has been so lucky, and I made countering Mallorca plays every week, and they burned me the last 2 weeks. I had Mallorca to fail to score last week. Look, they're scoring these goals completely against the run of play or after a player's been sent off every game. Like Mallorca have scored 4 goals. They have an XG of just 3.78, but they're playing with a man up half the time. Now they take on Atletico Madrid, a team that is desperate. Let's be honest. Like 1-2-1 to start the year. They finally got back on track last week, but I think they're going to Mallorca. They're the better side. I know that you're giving up a little bit more by betting them on the handicap at -3/4 of a goal, but you can get them at a plus number at plus 106. So I'll back Atleti to go to Mallorca, who I still maintain is not a very good team. And has been fortunate here at the gate this season. So maybe this will be the week. Third time's the charm. Uh, that's it for me in La Liga. How about Serie A this weekend? Anything there?
Yeah, just going to go and visit your old mates at Napoli and back them to win to nil against Pisa. It's not very creative, I know, but
Yeah.
Pisa have really struggled so far
Don't
this
have to
season.
be creative.
No, just have to win bets. That's all we have to do.
What does that come? What does that come in at?
It's it's shorter than usual. It's -125, so I think it's still in range.
Okay.
But I think the shortest we've had on here for win to nil Napoli was about -111 or something like that. But Pisa
Yeah,
have
it's
been
pushed
really
out.
bad.
I had it. Both teams to score no Napoli win, so essentially Napoli win to nil at -122, but it's been pushed out to -125.
Yeah,
So I still do think that is a bettable range. The Rome derbies this weekend, by the way, Lazio and Roma. Any feel on that game?
no, not really. I think the Roma curveball last week of losing to Torino at home was a slight concern. And Lazio obviously themselves are really struggling. Yeah, I just end up leaving this alone. I would probably lean towards unders if there was a bet to be had. Just because every one of Roma's games so far has been 1-0, and there's been very few chances at both ends, which is very un-Gasparini like.
Right, right. Yeah, I'd edge Roma, 0 handicap, so a draw no bet at -111 for this one. I think the last week was more of a blip, although they do miss Dybala, who's been out and not available. Uh, Cracking play. Juventus, Verona. Juventus is away. The total for this game is set at 2.25. We just saw a 4-4 result. We talked about it last week, how Juventus, their attacking players are much better than the defensive players in this team, which is a departure from how they typically play. I got to be on side with Juventus there. Even Juventus with a full goal on the handicap at Verona, a team that's not very good at plus 102, but I much prefer the total here. Just at that number, I'll back the overs for that one. And I think that's it. Slightly to Cagliari at Lecce as well. Lecce last place, like in a bad team. You can get Cagliari on the handicap. Again, a draw no bet, a 0 on the handicap at -102. That's a decent enough play for me as well. All right, Bundesliga, and then I know Jake has a match that he's been keeping his eye on in France as well, which I think I might have to jump on board with as well. But let's go to Germany first. Anything there?
Just both teams to score and over 2.5 in Dortmund Wolfsburg. I think we all saw Dortmund on Tuesday night with a classic 4-4. All 8 goals in the second half, just for good measure. They're very vulnerable defensively, but obviously pack a punch in attack, and Wolfsburg are definitely fall into the same category. The last game was a 3-3, so I can see this being quite a high-scoring match. The line's set at 3.25, but I'm more than happy just to take VTTS and over at -118.
Okay. I'm liking my Bayern Munich plays early this season. They conceded twice away to Augsburg. This time they're at Hoffenheim. It's just about finding ways to get on side and be a little bit more creative in your plays for Bayern Munich. But at Hoffenheim, I like both teams to score, yes, and Bayern Munich to win at plus 134. Last year, head to head, I mean, Bayern Munich smashed Hoffenheim 4-0 and 5-0. But overall, both teams to score is played in all of Hoffenheim's games thus far. And in each and every one of Bayern Munich's games, they've scored 5 or more goals. Bayern Munich do play the Champions League against Chelsea. They can go away, potentially concede, even if they get up big in this game. So really the bet is that Hoffenheim's going to score. That's essentially it. And at plus 134, I think there's enough there to make that bet enticing. So that'll be my play. Both teams to score, yes, and Bayern Munich to win at plus 134. All right. Do you want to anything more on the Bundesliga, or do you want to take us home with Ligue 1 this weekend and the marquee fixture there?
Yeah, PSG to beat Marseille. It has to be backed. Minus 102 for an away win. Just on price grounds, really. I mean, I know they've got a couple of injuries, PSG, but they're still by far and away the best team in France. Marseille, they've really struggled so far this season against better teams. Their only 2 wins have come against newly promoted sides. The defeats have come against Rennes and Lyon. Obviously, Real Madrid beat them in midweek. A little bit dubious penalty there, but Real Madrid absolutely carved them open in that first half. They had 21 shots in the first half. So, yeah, I've no doubt that PSG can do the same and really, really hammer home why they are the best team in France. The other thing was it was just on price as well. Last season, this fixture was played in October, so we're not too far away. And PSG were minus 120 to win at Marseille. And they won 3-0. Very convincing. They went 1-0. Marseille got reduced to 10. Scored 2 goals before half time, going to bed. So, yeah, I'm just wondering why the prices moved so much. If anything, I thought it would at least stay the same, given that PSG are missing a few injuries. But that PSG team... But that PSG team in October wasn't the PSG team that we see now. They've developed so much in that time. They've won a domestic treble and won the Champions League. So, if anything, PSG have got far better from that since October, and Marseille have stood still. So, yeah, I'm struggling to see why we're getting even money about the best team in France.
Okay, that's the board this week. Let's review or present, I should say, our top plays of the week. Up to 5 units that we can bet. You can spread them across a number of different bets or plays. How are you going to use those 5 units this week, Jake?
I am going to take 5 bets, all the unit. Chelsea on the handicap versus United at minus 115. Both teams to score no in Sunderland Villa, minus 109. Bournemouth to beat Newcastle, plus 154. Arsenal to beat City, minus 109. And PSG to beat Marseille at minus 101.
I'm going to do the exact same way. 1 unit across 5 plays. I'm going to go that PSG play, the exact same one as you. 3 from the Premier League. Let's go over in Wolves and Leeds. Over 2.25 at plus 106. Let's go Burnley at home on the handicap, plus 1/4 goal against Nottingham Forest at minus 104. I'll also make the exact same play as you, United and Chelsea. I'll back the visitors on the 0 handicap, the draw no bet at minus 115. And I'll also do an over in Verona Juventus, over 2.25, and that plays at minus 102. Follow along with our picks and plays across social media.
We have a head-to-head as well. I'm going to win that one.
Oh, the head-to-head. I actually did have it written down as a potential play, but knowing how our head-to-heads play out, I decided to avoid it. I'm on the overs for Sunderland Aston Villa, over 2.25, and Jake is on the unders. So there we go. That's the show this week. Over. I'm just remixing this one. Remember to follow along on Pinnacle's social media accounts. Please hit the subscribe button, like it wherever you're watching, whether it's YouTube or listening through your whatever podcast platform you use. We really appreciate your support. On behalf of Jake and everyone at Pinnacle, I am Gareth Wheeler, and this has been episode 54 of Pinnacle FC.